college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm John Buhler, staff writer, fansided.com. I'm once again joined today by the one of one, the best penguin I know, the penguin of Troy herself, Alicia de Artola Castillo, editor, fansided.com. Make sure I got the title in there, for credibility purposes. While I don't think she's gonna do aerials in the sky today because it's pretty gloomy out here in Atlanta, but if you have a question, she might be able to answer it. It's never a lonely day when you have friends or Jesus. Either way, it's great. Welcome to the program.
I am so happy to be here on the System of a Down reference day. This is very exciting.
Yeah, so we're going to do some Just Like Novocaine to finish the day with some System of a Down. Cody's not a fan, but Alicia and I are. Listen to it all the time in high school. So, yes, a bunch of Armenians singing about political stuff out of Los Angeles with drop C guitar. It's going to be fantastic. Yes. And did you tell Michael, your husband, Michael Castillo, that we're doing a System of a Down today? Do you have any thoughts about that?
He's not. I asked him if he likes System of a Down. He's like, no. And I was like, that's not surprising because it's very much not Michael music.
No, if we did it Just Like Novocaine with him on the program, what would he want to do?
He would want to do Pink Floyd.
Oh, I'm like, we did that for Floyd with, yeah.
He would do Pink Floyd or, oh, who else? I mean, he really loves Michael Jackson, so it could be Michael Jackson, but why am I blanking on the one of the most famous bands of all time?
The Beatles.
This is how you know it's. I haven't finished my coffee today. Who?
It's okay.
It's I don't even want to say it because it's so bad that I can't get this into my head. It's right there. Stairway to Heaven. Who?
Oh, Led Zeppelin. Yes.
Led Zeppelin. God damn it. I'm gonna get divorced because I couldn't bring Led Zeppelin to my damn forefront of my brain. Yeah, he would want. He would do.
That's okay. Which band is Black Dog? I don't know. Yeah, there's things I say every day. I have to be like, okay, with the Arizona State podcast, I got to be careful and not say something. I'm like, this is great. She did make a video on the TikTok yesterday about things you can do, things you can't do when you're an upstairs neighbor. And she said it to Limp Bizkit's break stuff in a warehouse when she was dancing, and it was amazing. And yeah, just follow whatever she's doing out there, doing doing exercises out there. And I'm like, I'm gonna fall over and try to do it. Oh my gosh. Yes. You're putting me in a good mood today because I'm absolutely terrified. Yes, we obviously false started a little bit here. We are going to go with 1st and 15 with It Don't Mean Enough for my alma mater is going to Tuscaloosa to play Alabama, and I'm absolutely terrified. It's about as frightening as the weather outside, but 4 versus 2, Georgia's laying 2 points. I'm going to thank God I'm not working at that moment. I'll be watching like a fan, and then I'll be reacting with Cody Williams coming back from Yellowstone in probably real time. It's going to be absolutely terrifying. Talk me off the ledge or push me off the ledge, whatever you want to do.
I don't have a handle on this game at all. The closest I could come to talking you off the ledge is that I love Kalen DeBoer, and I'm still siding with Georgia here because I'm at the point where Kirby Smart has replaced Nick Saban in my perception of just don't bet against him and you'll generally be fine most weeks. I was surprised to see that ESPN Analytics has Alabama as a pretty sizable favorite here, 65.8% win probability, which is way higher than I would have guessed. I get that they're the home team, but that's more lopsided than I would have imagined. Dude, I wish I had any sense of what this game is going to be. I like Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe both for what they are. I trust Carson Beck a little bit more than Jalen Milroe not to make an error in this game, and I think that might be what it comes down to. Is I'm less certain that Alabama will play a super clean game then I am certain that whatever errors that Georgia makes, their defense is going to sort of make up for it. When it all comes down to it, like the Georgia defense is still the Georgia defense, and I see no reason to expect them to get exposed by Alabama, even though I think this Alabama offense certainly has some intriguing enough weapons. I don't
Yeah.
know, man. I don't know at all.
Well, you are making me feel better. I think it's like Ryan Williams. He's only 17. He scored like a touchdown a game. But I will say, like, you're right though. Beck and Milroe, we both like them both. I think that Milroe might be a first round pick. He kind of does a lot there. Maybe he comes back for like one more year, but somebody else has to go in the first round besides Beck and Sanders, and I guess the mangled body of Quinn Ewers. But oh man, but I guess it does come down to coaching. I think that like Kirby Smart has a little bit more well-run operation. Like offensively, he knows it's Bobo, whereas like DeBoer's like, okay, is it Sheridan? Okay, is Shepard going to do something? And then on defense, yes, you've got Womack and Linguist and everything like that. But with Georgia, it's like, okay, Schumann, go figure it out. I think the other big thing that leads me to believe it might end up being Georgia. I'm going to pick them anyway because like I feel like I have to. This is just what I do. I pick Georgia and I sweat out every game. It can be Alabama, it can be Vanderbilt. It doesn't matter. This is just who I am. This is what I'm about.
That's
But
the fan experience.
yeah, absolutely. It's also Saints Week too. Yeah, yeah. Be sure to check out the Blog and Dirty podcast where I talk myself through that of how we're going to beat Derek Carr, even though we're probably going to win in three.
Can you
Oh man.
imagine saying that just a couple months ago? How am I going to beat the Saints?
I mean, once we get past like the Saints and Bucks, it's a lot of whatever. Still gotta play your Bolts later at some point too. We'll probably get you on the program for that. We'll see what happens with that exciting show. uh, but yeah, I think with Georgia, it's like the coaching advantage is there. Obviously, Saban's not there. Kalen DeBoer's got to prove it. I think the other big thing that analytics is getting wrong is they put way too much stock in the Kentucky game. I'm like, have you ever been there? Play a night there. That place is cursed. They didn't want to show Alabama a damn thing. That's what Cody
Hmm.
Williams said afterwards, after I was freaking out, walking around in a dog sitting prison, basically. um, but I also feel like what I saw with Alabama versus Wisconsin, like you can throw that game out. Like that game was over as soon as Tyler Van Dyke got hurt and they put up a lot of points. Maybe there's something South Florida put on tape that they can expose there. Plus, it's also not in Atlanta. It's not Uncle Arthur spaceship, so you've always got a chance there. Plus, everybody that was on Georgia last year, remember losing to Alabama like by 3 points, and they're gonna be like, okay, let's go out there and get him. Like this is why Carson Beck came back. Again, they could still lose because this is Alabama, but like, and even if it does happen, these are still two playoff caliber teams. They just have really difficult schedules.
Yeah, and that's the it's not a sad thing because I think we're all still hyped for this game, but I think coming out of this game, whoever loses is going to be able to sit back and go, oh, you know what? It doesn't matter anyways. Like we're still gonna. It matters what you do in the playoffs. So this isn't like an elimination game or anything like that. But I'm with you about the coaching staffs. The big difference here is that Kirby Smart has been at Georgia for years. He's the one who's recruited these players for his roster. What Kalen DeBoer took over, obviously a very good Nick Saban roster, but not his players, not his recruiting, not his stylistic choices. That lack of familiarity across this squad ultimately does limit them, I think, a little bit. At least you can expect it to. So, yeah, I'm with you. I'm picking Georgia. Won't be surprised whichever way it goes. But the good news for whoever loses is whoever wins gets to say we're the best, and whoever loses gets to say it doesn't matter.
Perfect. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like whoever loses is going to go like 9-3, 10-2, and still be in that mix. Kind of got two parts here before we move on to our next topic, because this will parlay in this pretty good. So, if Georgia wins, they got to go to one, presumably, just because they've got two really stellar wins over Alabama and Clemson. Alabama's at 4. How far would Alabama kind of go down in the playoff picture in your eyes after if they lost like by like a possession, basically?
That's the big question for me is what does that loss look like for Alabama? If it's a big loss, if they get their, jiggle bagged, as we say,
Yes.
I could see them dropping. I could see them dropping. Probably. Let's assume that everybody else takes care of their business. I could see them dropping behind. Miami and an Ole Miss and a Tennessee and maybe even an Oregon, depending on how Oregon looks against UCLA this week. Uh, I could see them dropping. 4 or 5 spots, maybe, which is probably harsh for losing to the number 2/number 1 team in the country. But when you're dealing with the fine margins that you're dealing with in that range, like the separation between those teams right now is so minimal that just having that one loss, especially by a big margin, they'll fall pretty far. If it's a close game, if it's a one possession game that Alabama plays Georgia tough, I still expect them to fall further than they should in the AP poll because AP voters are mindless drones who see one loss and say we must drop you, which is very annoying. But for me, if they lost to Georgia by one possession, quite frankly, I would be tempted to keep them in the top 5 still. I got to check real quick. Who does Ole Miss play this week? Ole Miss plays Kentucky.
Yeah, they play Kentucky. So yeah, they finally play somebody at SEC play. It's just SEC games the rest of the way for Ole Miss.
Yeah, but that's not at Kentucky. So again, it's not the same level of competition. I would have them ahead of Ole Miss if they play Georgia that tight.
If it's a field goal loss, they probably kick. I feel like they may go down to like 6. If it's by like a touchdown, you're kind of in that 8-9 range with like
Yeah.
the Penn States and the Oregons. But even if you lose like considerably, like I'm not going to put them down like 11 with Mizzou. I think that like losing to like the other concurrent dynasty in the SEC, like still better than what I've seen out of Mizzou 3 or 4 weeks. So I still think they're in, but they will probably go down between 1 and like 4 or 5 spots.
Yeah, for sure. Now, if Alabama wins,
Yes, this is a.
how far up do they go? Because this one I have opinions on this.
I think they go to 2. I don't think they go past. I don't think they go past Texas. I think Texas has just been really dominant throughout. I think the Michigan win, with Michigan basically being in that like 11 through 15 range right now, where like they're either like last team in or one of the first 4 out, with USC being strong as well. Like I don't think that like Texas is going to get knocked if they don't. I don't think Texas is going to get punished if they win and Alabama wins. So I feel like Alabama would go to 2. With Georgia, you'd go from 2, you'd probably go down to like 7 or something like that.
Yeah, I think again, all of this depends on what that loss looks like. But I personally would argue for Alabama to be number 1 because that's the most impressive win by far, more impressive than Texas over Michigan, in my opinion.
I think that's fair.
Georgia, again, because the polls do what they do and you lose and you must drop. I think you're right. I think my cutoff is almost, if you have one loss, no matter how impressive that loss might be, you will fall behind Miami at least, because Miami is a very impressive undefeated team in terms of how they're playing, and you're probably just going to at least fall behind them, which means 6, 7, depending on what else happens across the country. But personally, I would say that's too far of a drop too, because if Georgia loses to Alabama and it's again a close game, one possession game, anybody could have won it. That's the best loss in the country right now by a team that we all acknowledge is not eliminated from the playoff picture. The bigger problem for Georgia is because their schedule is so tough. A loss to Alabama, it starts to look a little bit more questionable for them if you start looking at the schedule.
Well, the good news with Georgia is if they were to lose, like they would go behind Ohio State, they'd go behind Tennessee, they'd go behind Ole Miss. They still got to play Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. Again,
Yeah.
they're all going to be ahead of you. You're going to go up with that. But at that point, you're like, maybe you're just lucky if you just split. Maybe you just go 1 and 3, and maybe you get in as like the 11 seed out of how truly. I think I saw that at the start of the year. Like, I think if with Florida's schedule, Florida goes 8-4 with what they have to play. They'll get in because of how insanely tough it is. And then Georgia and Vanderbilt, like if they go 9-3 with their schedule, they would probably get in given the circumstances. Everybody else has like a different. I think maybe USC is like they either got to go 10-2 or like 9-3. They're in that cluster. I can't recall everything like that. And then you've got some teams that got to go 12-0. But
Yeah, we've over in USC land, we've been assuming that USC has to be at cannot have more than two losses. And pretty much everybody in the Big Ten, the way I'm looking at it, two losses is the minimum that you can get away with. But I think you're right. That would be fascinating if Georgia has three losses, is hovering around that, the bubble. And those three losses are to Texas, Tennessee, and Ole Miss, or Alabama, three of those four. Do you leave them out if you're questioning them against a two-loss USC? Because to me, a two-loss USC where USC has lost to Michigan and, I don't know, let's say Penn State, let's say Penn State. Georgia's three losses are, to me, even like as a USC fan, I'd say I would have a hard time keeping Georgia out in that case. Unless
yeah,
USC went through and absolutely like blew out everybody else in November, which I don't even know if that's still enough.
we'll talk about this here in a second. But here's kind of what my brain's at right now. Again, I haven't looked at all the schedules. I don't have it all memorized. We still got 2/3 of the season left to play. I'm of the belief that if Alabama, Texas, or Georgia were to go 9-3, given their schedules and stuff like that, they would get in as like the 11th seed over like the fifth best Big
Big
Ten
Ten.
team.
Yeah.
Like, but I would also say this: if all things equal, 10-2, if USC is 10-2 and Penn State's 10-2, USC gets in over Penn State. And I would
Yeah.
also say that 10-2 hurts Ole Miss and LSU because the schedule is not that good. So those are I think it's Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, and there's one other school, maybe Mizzou, isn't that too? Mizzou's slightly hard.
Mizzou's schedule isn't, yeah. I don't think they can be 9-3.
No, they can't. Whereas like, yeah, I think that's like Georgia, Alabama, Texas, Florida all have really challenging schedules. I think. I
LSU's
think
schedule is pretty tough too.
yes. I mean,
Well,
it's
I
gonna
don't
be
know. It
tough.
depends on how much you value Texas A&M and Oklahoma.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, Ole Miss has the softest schedule in the SEC, I think, so that would hurt them. But we're gonna move on here with some playoffs. You kidding me? Yes, we've got three other games that may have impacted the college football playoff picture considerably across the board. We got Illinois at Penn State, the other big game in the Big Ten. Or we got Louisville, Notre Dame in the ACC, essentially, and then we got Oklahoma State, K-State in the Big 12. So first, let's start with the Big Ten game. This is your neck of the woods. This is your conference. A lot of Penn State should win comfortably, but what if they don't?
If Penn State loses to Illinois, Penn State is, in my view, in danger of the rare three-loss Penn State season, because they're going to USC and then they've got Ohio State, and I think they're in danger of losing their playoff spot. Like you said, they, even at two losses, they could already be a fringe team that gets left out because the SEC is what it is. So I don't think Penn State can afford to lose this game.
No.
It almost is almost an eliminator, because you have to assume Penn State's going to lose to Ohio State. And even if they beat USC, it'll get very tricky for them. The intriguing thing here for me is Illinois, because we've talked about, the Big Ten, the question of who are these Big Ten teams that could fill in those final spots, if they're available to them and if the SEC doesn't fill them all up. And I'm gonna be honest. If you had shown me Illinois' schedule ahead of time, before we've seen what we've seen this season, I would have said there's zero chance that they're in the mix. But now I'm looking at it, and so but if they beat Penn State, if they go to Penn State and win, Michigan's gettable.
Mhm.
As someone who's watched Michigan, like Michigan is not they're not going to be an easy team to beat, but they're gettable. They have some fatal flaws that can be taken advantage of. And then you got to go to Autzen. We don't know what Oregon like. Oregon
Right.
is it feels kind of weirdly gettable too, even going to Autzen. So at that point, I'm if they beat Penn State, I'm looking at it and it's like there's a very decent chance that this is a one-loss Illinois team.
Yeah, because they got to play like the Purdue's and the Northwesterns of the world there. So I'm thinking about this. If Penn, just try to unpack both of these, both sides of the coin of this game. So if Penn State loses, they become essentially the Big Ten version of LSU, where like they're still in it, but like the loss you weren't expecting to have. Like I had LSU beating USC. USC
Hmm.
gets a boost because of that, and I still think USC is valued because of that because Michigan's kind of a toss up there.
Hmm.
USC is still right on schedule to be able to go about 10-2 and probably get in. Again, they're going to be right there in the mix. Whereas LSU does not have the strongest schedule, and you got again you need the Oklahomas and the A&Ms to be good. A&M might be good. I don't trust Oklahoma at all. But with Penn State, it's like you're not. Anytime Penn State is like clearly an underdog, they're not winning. That's just what you do at the driving
Yeah.
academy. They're in a happy valley, so that takes them down. I would say Penn State would probably go from like the 8-10 range in the playoff picture. I mean, they might not even be first four out at that point if they lose this game right now. The question for me is where would you put Illinois? They're at like 19 now. They weren't first four out for me or you. I don't think they get to like 11 right now, but they'd probably be in that first four out. I would think they'd probably be like 15 or something, maybe.
Well,
When it
they benefit from one of LSU or sorry, one of Louisville or Notre Dame is going to lose.
right.
Um, they they definitely jump ahead of Clemson. They definitely jump ahead of LSU. Um, do they
If you,
jump ahead of USC and Michigan? If USC struggles with Wisconsin, then I could certainly make the argument you leap them ahead of USC easily. Um, who's Michigan playing this week?
Michigan is playing, I think I had that as a JLN games.
Minnesota.
Yes, they've got Minnesota.
Yeah.
If they lose
If
to Minnesota, that's Michigan's pretty much eliminated at this
Oh,
point.
yeah, USC and Michigan both cannot afford to lose this week, but I also think both of them need to answer questions that people have about their fatal flaws. And if they don't, if they both survive those games that they should win and look shaky, then I would be perfectly comfortable moving Illinois up over them. But if we're going to assume that Michigan and USC win the way that they should, then yeah, maybe we're moving Illinois up to 14.
Yeah, like 13, 14. It's like I feel like 11's about as high as you could go this week, and that's with pure chaos. But like they'd go up to like 15, 16 pretty comfortably. They'd be
Easily. Yeah.
because they have a better win than like Iowa State, who I think I like a lot out of the Big 12. And again, we don't really know what to make of. You like BYU, UCF still undefeated, and then we got a pretty much a de facto elimination game in the Big 12. We'll talk about here
Yeah.
in a second. But yes, that's wild. I think Penn State's going to win. They have to,
Yeah.
but that would be absolutely wild if they did not. We're going to move on to the ACC game, sort of, with Louisville Notre Dame. It's like 15-16. Notre Dame has to win.
Yes. This is an elimination game for Notre Dame. And I I don't I'm at the point where I just don't trust Notre Dame. Like I've watched this movie too many times. Their offense continues to be I think one of the most underperforming offenses consistently over the last probably 10 years in college football. And I don't know why they, well, I do know why, because they aren't serious about hiring, actual real offensive talent to coach this team. Um, but I'm at the point where like I don't trust Riley Leonard to
Yeah.
to make the plays necessary in this game. I love their defense. I think their defense gives them a chance in pretty much every game that's on their schedule. So I'm not going to totally write them off here, but I I wish I trusted Louisville more, I guess is where I'm at. I don't know if Louisville is for real at this point. We certainly can't judge them, can't like expect them to be a juggernaut having beaten Georgia Tech. The Georgia Tech is not, a team that's going to beating Georgia Tech is not convincing me that you are a legitimate team. I have a hard time taking Tyler Shuck.
Shuck, like corn
Shuck.
shucking.
I can do the
Yes.
CH. Okay, Tyler Shuck. I always want to like do the thing where I know that it's supposed to be that sound, but then you sort of cut off that sound because it's not that sound, like whatever. Um, I have a hard time taking him seriously. I should take him seriously, but I remember just perception from the Oregon days to be judgy. I don't know.
Yeah. Shuck is like McLaughlin or McLaughlin. Like it's the same sort of thing.
Yes.
But the GH becomes a my swim coach's last name was Lochran. So, but it was Loughran, but Lochran. So it was confusing. I don't know if she knew how to spell that either. She was an athlete, not an athlete. I love Coach Lochran. But anyway, like I'm Notre Dame is this is not going to be good for Notre Dame. I'm actually taking Louisville in this game. I think it comes down to my biggest thing I thought about through the first 4 weeks of the season. Coaching matters. Jeff Brom's a great head coach. Marcus Freeman could be a good head coach. He's not much. He's not much older than you and I. Like it's the same sort of thing. Like I'm like maybe he got promoted to the job a bit prematurely. Maybe this would be like the year, as the Notre Dame DC gets promoted because like he has these like the Mike Tomlin letdown games or the Mark Richt letdown game losses. I mean, you already lost to Northern Illinois, and Cody's like, that's not a good football team. Um, Tyler Shuck seems to be playing pretty good there under Jeff Brom. But Jeff Brom seems to get a lot out of his quarterbacks. We saw Aiden O'Connell play very well under him. Riley Leonard, I'm about as confident in Riley Leonard as me spelling his name. I think I can do it, but at the same time, like I don't know.
Is there an E in there?
Is there an E in there? Is it Leonard? Is it I don't know, whatever trendy way to spell Riley is. So yes, this is absolutely an elimination game for Notre Dame. They're still in the mix. They have to win this. If they don't, again, you're probably going to lose to USC at this point, and then go like 9-3, and you're not getting in as an at-large team at that point. With Louisville, if they were to win, this win still probably matters in some capacity. Maybe you emerge as the most formidable challenger to Miami. Maybe you get into the first four out. I don't know if you go top to only go top 12. I still think Clemson's probably better than y'all, but like at that point, like we got to start taking Louisville pretty seriously.
Yeah, I just looked up Riley Leonard's numbers against Louisville last year. He was 9 of 23 passing for 121 yards and an interception. And I think he does get injured during that game, but that's not very encouraging, especially knowing what I know about what that Louisville defense, like that Louisville defense is they're not scrubs, but like they also are sort of ACC level
Yeah.
defense. That's not necessarily like cross conference legitimacy there.
Yeah, what makes Louisville good is they're well coached and they're pretty good offensively. They play pretty cohesively there, but defense, it's like middle of the pack. That's not their strength.
Yeah.
I don't know if I've told you my Riley Leonard take yet. I kind of feel that like he's like the cousin of Philip Rivers, but everybody hates him in the family. He's kind of just over there being an absolute nag on the sideline. It's like you're not helping. This is like I'm sitting there watching the A&M game and he's just complaining, and I'm like, this is worse than like Kyler Murray just sulking on the sidelines for the Cardinals. I hate his body language. He went from first round pick to not being draftable, I don't think.
Yeah, it's been a fall, but I don't know. I also think Notre Dame does this to guys too. Like this was a match made in hell, I suppose. Uh,
I just I
having
guess
having said all of this, like I'm still probably picking Notre Dame in this game. I'm just picking them in a really ugly game where both sides come out looking like how for real is either side here.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll know if Louisville's really good after this point, but we'll know that Notre Dame's not. It kind of goes back to the point you said, like, what's up with Notre Dame? It's like, I guess Brady Quinns don't grow on trees. I mean, Ian Book was pretty good. I mean, we're longing for the days of Ian Book,
Ian
and
Book.
you tried that with Tyler Buckner. It didn't take, and he played lacrosse. Now he's back playing wide receiver. he's he's the he looks like Sam Bradford, but he plays like Marcus Mariota. I'm like, I don't even know if you're looking at the right looking looking in the right direction. God, I hate Marcus Mariota. You quitter, you
Oh.
suck.
Oh, good
uh,
old NFL Marcus Mariota also a little
I
bit.
was I was out on him when he didn't know where Barcelona was. I'm like, this isn't that hard, dude. It's over there. Barcelona, is that a fake planet or something? No, it's a city in Spain.
It's an international city, bro.
And I don't know if these people in the next game have been to a lot of international cities, aka Mike Gundy or Chris Kleiman. We're going to talk about Oklahoma State, Kansas State. Two ranked teams going here. Probably talk about this in a little bit. This game's going to be nuts, and whoever loses is not making the playoff. It's over for the Pokes or the Wildcats if they lose.
This is the Big 12 disappointment bowl. I I, I watched Kansas State get absolutely just crushed by BYU and came away feeling Kansas State was a team that I looked at in the preseason and thought, you know what, their schedule kind of looks pretty manageable. They've got, Avery Johnson at quarterback. He's a sort of an interesting talent. Chris Kleiman has done a good job with that program in recent years. Like I was like, yeah, they could. Maybe they're the challenger for Utah in the Big 12. And then I watched them play that game and thought, this is a team that doesn't seem to have very much like mental fortitude. Once things started going downhill for them, it just kept going downhill and kept going downhill. And maybe it's unfair to judge them too harshly for that game, considering I was only half watching them beat Arizona, which is their best win so far. But Arizona's also a weird team, so who the hell knows? But I also was half watching them play Tulane, and they tried very hard to lose that game too. So as much as I think it's disgraceful that Oklahoma State lost to a Utah team with Isaac Wilson at quarterback, I'm far more out on Kansas State at this point. But you are correct. Whoever loses this game is pretty much done in the Big 12 and in any playoff discussion. And maybe that raises the stakes here a little bit, and maybe we see something more. But nah, I'm out on both of these teams, to be quite honest.
I'm more out on Kansas State. I think Oklahoma State's going to win and win comfortably. We still have not seen the good Ollie Gordon game yet. Alan Bowman's kind of doing stuff, but he's also got like way more like starting experience. Like he's old enough to be Avery Johnson's dad, I think, to be honest with you. So Avery Johnson, I'm looking at him, I'm like, what is he? I'm like, he's a McCaffrey brother with a teeny bobber hair. That's what he is. I mean, it's kind of a push. I think Kleiman's a little bit better of a coach than Gundy, or more consistent. It's in Manhattan, so maybe that gives K-State an edge. But I feel like with Oklahoma State, like they barely beat Arkansas, who I think is kind of good. They've got a pretty good offense there. K-State, like they messed around with Tulane. Tulane is kind of going through a transition. John Summerall's a fantastic head coach. Given 3 years, he'll be leading a P4 team, possibly his alma mater, Kentucky, if Mark Stoops leaves. I think that could be a very interesting spot there. But I just think that there's more upside, I think, with Oklahoma State's offense right now. I could be wrong, but yes, it's going to be really sad for whoever loses this game because it's over.
Big over. Yeah.
And we're going to move on to the next topic. I don't know if it's really sad, but we're going to pat the dock a little bit here with some I declare we still care some more. Yes, the Pac-12 is still alive. Yeah. So Oregon State and Washington State now have some more stepbrothers they're bringing in. They all share the same last name of State, which is great.
they, they should just call them the Pac states and just leave it at that.
All State sponsored by Mayhem.
Yes, All State got to get in on this sponsorship.
Get
Uh,
Dennis Haysbert to be the commissioner.
yeah,
uh,
this is very as a lover of the Pac-12, this is all very sad to me. I thought the first phase of expansion of the Pac-12 was pretty solid. I think Fresno State's a great program. Boise State obviously has been a legitimate program for a while now. Um, San Diego State, again, good program. And then who am I missing?
Colorado State, but
Colorado State.
that's all about geography and
And
everything too.
and Colorado State too, honestly, yes, definitely geography, but also has felt like a program that probably has room to grow. Um, this expansion wasn't gonna make them this any more than just like a solid G5 program, but they were still going to be, solid. Um, the second wave has basically gone about as poorly as you could imagine. I believe last night UNLV and Air Force turned them down,
Yeah.
which means that they're running out of like the AAC. Memphis and I believe Tulane was part of that group.
Memphis, Tulane, South Florida, and UTSA, the ones that are carrying that league, they basically said we're staying lockstep. So it's Utah
Yeah.
State going in at that point. So, and then San Jose State's still a state. So, and again, that's the worst resource program in the Mountain West. Feel bad for them. They've got a great coach there and Kinui Matalolo, but maybe it ends up being them. But like you got to get to 8 to kind of get the accreditation where like if you win that league, you can make the playoff. Like you can have a conference championship and then that'll count is basically what they're getting at. So do you try to get Montana State? Do you try to get North Dakota State, South Dakota State? Eastern Washington change their name to Eastern Washington State.
Yeah, the more I look at this and the more I think like, can the Mountain West and Pac-12 just combine and become the Pac West or the Pac Mountain, whatever you need to do, just combine and have you'll all be better off for it. But at this point, it feels like there's bad blood there. Obviously, the Pac-12 is suing the Mountain West, so like that's not going to happen. You just have to literally anyone who wants to is going to be the final two teams in this conference. They are beggars. They literally cannot be choosers. So yeah, you go question the FCS programs in the Dakotas. If I'm them, I say no and I stay in the FCS and keep winning my championships personally. But there eventually there will be a couple takers. It's just that you're now in a position where your additions are not strengthening your conference aside from just getting you to that 8-team limit. And it just feels like they've missed a huge opportunity to put together a really strong, like this could have been a situation where the Pac-12 became by far and away the strongest of the G5s. And now they're at best going to be, they have Fresno State and Boise State, so they're going to be somewhat competitive, but
I'm looking across the board, like who could that last team be? So you're looking for states. So I'm going with state just to be Texas State. Maybe they're kind of in a weird spot. Maybe they leave the Sun Belt at some point. I don't know where San Marcos is in relation in the state of Texas, probably more eastern, probably not closer to Lubbock. I don't know. Texas geography scares me. I don't know. I've been there once or twice. It's a state.
It's a giant ass state. It's sort of.
Yes. And then I'm looking across the board like, okay, the weird thing with the Mountain West falling apart is like every step of the way, New Mexico has done nothing to ever help New Mexico State. They've always been like, yeah, you can't help us. Well, now New Mexico State's in a much more stable conference there in CUSA, and the Aggies maybe they're not going to throw them a life raft or anything like that. That might actually be the one to do if they want to pay the Aggies quite a bit. That might be the one to try to pursue, because otherwise, like, okay, Missouri State's coming in, they're going to be joining CUSA at that point. I don't think there's Wyoming State because there's only 500,000 people in that state and 2 escalators. I learned that.
I learned the escalator fact this year as well. It's incredible. Would you, here's my question. Would you mess around with Hawaii?
I think that's actually the answer. I think that because they're in like the whack, I think, for everything
But
but
the football,
football.
yeah.
It's a huge brand, mostly for gamblers and starting at 11:59 Eastern time on there. You have the right head coach with Timmy Chang, an absolute legend, guy we watched growing up, and he was awesome playing
Good.
for Jim Jones. Um, I think you got to go Hawaii. I think Hawaii is the most logical one there too, because like UNLV is not going to leave little brother Nevada, and Air Force and Wyoming seem like they're going to be in lockstep with everything like that too. New Mexico, we'll see what they want to do, but again, that does nothing for like the brand. They're going to be doing whatever's in their best interest at this point. And maybe I'm missing somebody else. San Jose State, maybe you try to get them. Maybe that's the most. Maybe that's the sad bag of crap you go get at that point.
I mean, that's essentially if you're San Jose State
You're hoping to get
and
the invite.
yeah, you're hoping to get the invite. And if you're the Pac-12 and again, you need a body like sure, San Jose State, come on down. But then I
Yeah.
think at that point, then the Mountain West is down to 16, is down to, are they below 8 at that point?
Okay, because you'd have Air Force, Wyoming, Hawaii, New Mexico. Um, doing math is really then UNLV and Nevada. So I think that's six.
Yeah, so then I think they're down to 6, which means that then need to find somebody to get them back up to 8.
At,
And
at
they
that
might
point,
have more, they might have a chance. Well, but again, if you're in the AAC or CUSA or even like I don't know, the MAC,
yeah,
why leave those conferences to join a Mountain West that's been torn apart? Again, the Pac-12 and the Mountain West should just be the same conference. It's all very silly, but
it should be the Pac-16. That's what it should be, and I'd
yeah,
rebrand it as such and try there. Hopefully, you level up at that point. But if
yeah,
Mountain West goes down to six, then you got to go like, hey, Montana State, do you want to come? Eastern
yeah,
Washington to come. Cal Davis. I don't. I, I don't know, but
yeah.
it's Southern Utah.
Yeah.
Get Deacon Hill back in the
Hey,
FBS.
hey, go to UMass and UConn and say, hey, you guys want a conference?
I think UMass is joining the MAC, or they're going to
Are
go back
they?
to the
Oh,
MAC,
well,
and then UConn may go to the Big 12, but they want the football program to be taken seriously. So maybe Dan Orlovsky needs to leave ESPN like Woj and become like the GM for UConn football. That was a shocker.
yeah, that what team is Shams gonna end up GMing
Uh,
in a year or two?
I mean, his alma mater, Loyola Ramblers. He
Hey,
replaces Sister Jean, or he has the spirit of Sister Jean running through his veins.
beautiful. I love it.
I love that too, but we still care some more. But clearly, we are living in a simulation. Yes, in the wake of whatever's going on with the Mountain West, UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka, making sure I'm saying Sluka, not Skula, the dyslexia right there is getting bad. Yeah, he and I believe another running back who I'm missing their name was like, yeah, I'm not
Uh,
playing for Barry Odom anymore, and then also Barry Alexander's in the portal again. So what's going on?
Okay, to clear up the Bear Alexander thing, because I've seen a lot of people talking about the Bear Alexander thing in relation to the Matthew Sluka, and believe it's the running back's name is Michael Allen or something
Yes,
Allen.
that sounds right. Yeah.
Um, the Bear Alexander thing is not about NIL. He held out in the spring to get more NIL money, and USC gave him that bag. That's why he stayed at USC. It's why he's even at USC right now. Bear Alexander is in the portal because of playing time. He wasn't a starter, and he wants to be a starter, and you know he'll do his own thing. But I think that and that's the Michael Allen thing as well. As my understanding is, this was more about playing time for him than the NIL questions. They're two examples of something I think we're going to see a lot more of, and saw last year a bit, and we're going to continue to see more of, is basically guys who aren't starting, who want to be starting, um, maintaining a year of eligibility by sitting out after 3 games and deciding, you know what, I'm going to bide my time and go somewhere else. And next year I'll start wherever I start and I have another year to work with. Um, the Matthew Sluka thing is, I'm very torn on this. I'm comparing this slightly. It's not a perfect comparison, but I'm comparing it slightly to guys sitting out bowl games.
Yeah.
Like, on the one hand, it's a business decision, and I understand that. And I'm not going to hold a business decision against a player who is trying to maximize their earning power in the limited window of earning power that they have during their careers, most of them. Um, I get it. I understand it. I I can intellectualize it. But as a football fan, I hate this so much. And I admit I do think less of, like, I don't want to hold it against them. I understand, but like I do think less of guys who sit out bowl games. And I do think less of Matthew Sluka for leaving a 3-0 UNLV team that legitimately has a chance to be a playoff team, to leave them after 3 games is, I just hate it. It's anti-competitive. It's anti-sport. And I blame the NCAA for allowing this kind of thing to happen by not just employing the players and protecting them with contracts and all of the stuff that they should have been doing all along. But this is the worst. It's the worst, and I hate it.
For people that don't understand, UNLV is a basketball school historically. It's dating back to like, Jerry Tarkanian chewing on towels with Greg Anthony, Stacey Augmon, and Grandmama Larry Johnson all there in the very early 90s. They won a national title at 90, back when Guy Fieri was going to school there. Where's the money guy? I watched enough Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. You should be able to pay for this.
Yeah, I mean, you're telling me he can't use his diners, drivers, and dives dollars to fund $100,000 in NIL?
I know, it's like, who else is like famous UNLV alums? Like, okay, like Randall Cunningham. I mean, that's the last time they were good. I mean, who else are you gonna lean on? Like, lean on Tommy Lauren to do something good in her life for once? Like, this is
But
not, no,
it's
no.
Vegas too. It's not even alums. Where's the people in Vegas who want to start betting on this program? Not literally betting on the
Yeah,
program, but like investing in this program that could net, a lot of it
yeah,
has a lot of potential.
yeah. We need some Nevin Shapiro's to pop out of the woodwork. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, Walton High School alum, Kevin Kruger, son of Lon Kruger, they both, I think he's at coaching at UNLV on the basketball side. So like when his dad was the Hawks coach, yeah, he went to my high school back in the day and stuff like that. Yeah, shout out East Cobb Snobs. That's what's up. But there's people out there to be had with UNLV, and I've always said that, like, okay, they play in the Roomba. UNLV is a cool name. It's in Las Vegas. Their last name's the Rebels. That's iconic. They're playing in the same stadium as the NFL's Rebel franchise. Like, this shouldn't be this hard. This is a school that I've always felt like can level up quickly. Like,
Yes.
same with Arizona State. Honestly, same with South Florida. Like, they can
Yeah.
basically just make a huge leap very quickly, but they just haven't done that. And I guess with Sluka, my thing is like, where's he gonna go? Like, he played at Holy Cross for Bob Chesney. Maybe he goes to JMU. If somebody else is out there, like, do you want to go play at TCU for a year? Is Sonny Dyke still going to be your coach? Like, who who cares? But you're absolutely right. This is just so anti-competitive. I hate this so much. Like, this could be the best season of UNLV football in our lifetime, and it's they're punting on it. Like, they might lose to Fresno this week.
Yeah, and that's what I think annoys me the most too is maybe I don't have a good sense of what the value of an individual player in NIL dollars is. But I was surprised to hear that UNLV even verbally offered 100K to a quarterback coming out of Holy Cross to come to UNLV. So, like, that was a surprise to me that that's even a dollar amount that's being floated out. But like, what is the school that's offering him that amount to redshirt and transfer? Like, I don't know. I don't know where that's like, where is this offer even coming from, or where are these opportunities even coming from?
Yeah.
I did pull up the wiki page just really quick. Uh, Suge Knight UNLV grad. Jimmy Kimmel didn't graduate from UNLV, but is an alum and has an honorary degree. Uh, Tommy Lauren,
Yeah,
get some politics in here. There's people in here that can help fund the running rebels.
it is in fact a university, so yes, they could do that. Man, I just hate that he's going in the portal. But like again, we're only like in year four of having NIL. I think NIL basically became a thing July 1, 2021, with first person to sign an NIL deal, Bo Nix with Milo's Sweet Tea.
Oh, I love
uh,
that trivia question.
God, Bo Chapman Nix. That's his name.
Chapman is his middle name.
Yes, his
Oh,
first name is Bo Chapman Nix.
good Lord.
As if I need another reason to hate the Broncos. Oh man. So as like a Chargers fan, how does it go down for you? Is it like is it Raiders, Chiefs, or Broncos? I guess don't like any of them.
I don't like the Broncos, the Raiders fans are just they're a lot. So those are definitely my lower team. I'm a weird Chargers fan though because I have to cover them so much. Like I appreciate the Chiefs' greatness. So like I don't necessarily hold ill will towards the Chiefs. I should, but I don't.
That's kind of how it goes with the Falcons fan. Like I hate to say it, and the Panthers are they're awful, but I haven't really hated the Bucks too much. With Brady, they've been kind of excellent. I've kind of always liked Baker Mayfield, just his just
He's fun.
he's fun. He's the most confident 6 foot tall quarterback I've ever
Yes.
seen. Yeah, he's a funny dude. But I guess the last thought I had about not with Sluka, but like with Bear Alexander, it's one of the few mutuals we have in the sports world. It's Michael
Yeah.
the Burner Turner, Ron Washington, um, Raisel Iglesias. I don't think there's any if there's Hawks Clippers crossover or
There probably is, but I couldn't pull that one out of my hat right now.
no,
Hey,
but
Michael Jackson the third is
Michael Jackson the third,
the
yes.
wide receiver transfer to Georgia.
Dante Williams on Georgia staff now too. Yeah,
Yeah,
the
you guys
mutual.
you can have
There's
him.
That's fine. We'll take whatever we can take whatever we want or have. I don't know. There's not a lot of Chargers Falcons crossover. I was thinking about that. Not really. It's like Michael the
No.
Burner Turner is probably the only one that comes to mind. Um, I guess Marty Schottenheimer coached your team and Brian Schottenheimer coached Georgia. So I guess that's 1 degree of separation. That's about
Yeah,
it.
some DNA matching there.
That's about it. But yeah, Bear Alexander, where do you think he ends up? I mean, who's gonna like let him start? Like, I feel like he's got to go to like a Big 12 or ACC school because he's just not about that with the SEC or the Big Ten anymore.
I could see him going to like if he gets a Power Four offer, it'll be Texas A&M or one of those
Yes,
just like. But the reality is, you know where Bear Alexander is 1,000,000% going to end up? Miami.
oh,
Like
that could be good. Yeah,
I just you think about the programs that just throw money at players who are out in the wind who have any amount of talent, and to me it's Texas A&M and it's Miami, and I just feel like everybody that is in this situation just ends up at Miami. So I think
man.
that's probably the best landing spot for him if he wants to be relevant in at any point. But I also think that um, you know sometimes you have to look within to figure out why things aren't working out for you, and I hope that Bear looks within at
Me
some
too.
point.
I wonder what his real first name is. It can't be Bear. It's probably like Clarence. Clarence Bear Alexander.
Terrence Bear Alexander.
that,
Hey,
that,
I have a family friend who's essentially a cousin who named her son Bear. So,
okay.
this might be a thing.
This is a thing now. Naming each other after animals and stuff like that. That's
Oh,
great.
okay, no, I just looked it up. It's
Oh, no.
Keithian.
Okay, Keithian. So
Keith, like think of Keith with an IAN at the end. So is it Keithian or I don't know what the possible pronunciation of this could be, but Keithian Deshaun Bear Alexander.
Ethan Cathian, Keith, Big Keith. There we go. There
Big
we
Keith.
go.
Big Keith. Yeah, let's call him Big Keith.
Big Keith. That's better than Clarence. But yes, as far as like other places he could go, I mean, you're absolutely right there. Like Miami is the school that throws the bag at people in the ACC. In the Big Ten, it's probably Oregon, but Oregon doesn't need him. And if there's anybody in the Big 12 that's going to do it, it has to be Houston. They've got that Tillman Fertitta money that have to be them. Um, and plus, I think he's from Texas, so maybe that makes sense too. I don't even know. It's still in Raiola. Like I don't even know where you're from anymore, dude.
He is from Texas, so yeah, Terrell, Texas.
Terrell,
Terrell,
Texas,
Texas.
Terrell Owens, Texas.
But he went to IMG in Florida for high school, so
Of course he did.
well, at least for 1 year, because my understanding is that he went to 4 different high schools in 4 different years. So yeah, there's a
Yeah,
trend.
it's a trend. I went to one, and that's all I needed.
I I went to one as well, and yeah.
Oh, but yes, we're done with Bear Alexander, but we're gonna move on to some Ramstein or mostly some Oklahoma Sooner stuff with some Duhast or Duhast. Yes. It was shocking when Jackson Arnold got benched for Michael Hawkins Jr. I'm making sure I got that right because yeah, my childhood friend's name is similar and I don't want to put him on blast or anything like that. But agree or disagree with this statement, Alicia? Do Host or do Host? Is Oklahoma making a mistake, making a change at quarterback from Jackson Arnold to Michael Hawkins Jr. against their big first SEC road game at Auburn?
Um, in in the short term, I don't think they're making a mistake because Jackson Arnold was committing the one thing you cannot do as a quarterback is be a turnover machine. And if you are a turnover machine, you need to be taken out of the like you can't play with a turnover machine. Um, so in the short term, they probably do have a better shot to beat Auburn with Michael Hawkins, and maybe it was all a mirage, but it seemed to me like he was doing a better job of sort of playing more within himself and not taking those kinds of risks. Um, Maybe that will change against Auburn. It's a tough situation for him, but in the short term, I think it makes a lot of sense. In the long term, I think that if you're making this quarterback change now, that speaks to a deeper problem in your program and bigger questions about your offensive coaching and how well they are preparing a talent like Jackson Arnold to play the game. Now, it's entirely possible that Jackson Arnold just, doesn't have anything in his brain and can't be taught. But at this point, it's way too early to make that assumption. So for me, it's yes, is it the right decision to make that change? Sure, for the short term growth of the team or opportunities of the team. But I'm starting to hit panic buttons in Oklahoma over this. Like this is a bad, bad, bad sign of what they have coming.
I absolutely agree with you. Short term, do Host 1S. This is okay because Michael Hawkins Jr. looked a lot better versus Tennessee versus Jackson Arnold, who would look like a scared puppy out there, and that was frightening. And that game got out of hand. They probably didn't prepare for Hawkins, which allowed Oklahoma to kind of get back in the game. Again, I have a little bit of a concern about Tennessee, just very minor with that. But like, it's hard to keep your foot on the gas the whole time.
Yeah.
But I don't think Oklahoma's very good. I think Oklahoma is like a 6-6 team. But you're absolutely right. Duhas, 2 S's. This is a 5 alarm fire. This is absolutely terrible. This is the single worst thing Brent Venables and Oklahoma can do. This is so beyond bad because what we have to remember is during the offseason, Joe Castiglione, who has been the AD of Oklahoma for longer than a fifth of the time Oklahoma has been a state. He has been the AD there since we were in elementary school, since a long, long time ago. I think when Clinton was in office, he was like, he was the AD there. But if you're pivoting off of Jackson Arnold with a defensive-minded coach and Brent Venables under a massive contract that he got to basically cover his ass because he might get eaten alive in SEC play, whereas Texas looks to be totally fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Also, Venables is a defensive-minded coach, and if you can't like recruit quarterbacks, this is bad. Who's going to want to come play there? You maybe go in the portal, maybe you hit one year, maybe you fail another year. But what I was found really odd about this was Jackson Arnold was one of three guys that went to Dallas for SEC Media Days. He's only a sophomore. He played one bowl game and he kind of looked okay. This is supposed to be a leader on the Oklahoma team, and they benched him before his first SEC road game, a game that Carson Beck said at the Manning Passive Academy, like, yeah, that place is cursed. There's ghosts there. Jordan Hare is scary. Yes. So this is bad. This is how Brent Venables gets fired, I think, next year. This is the beginning of the end for him if this goes poorly. Also, if you lose, whoever loses between Auburn and Oklahoma is in a really bad spot. Like this is almost as bad as Mississippi State right now. But again, Jeff Lebby's first year coach. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt with Selman, the new AD. If you lose, whoever loses Oklahoma and Auburn, it's I don't want to be a friend of that team. My sister went to Auburn.
This is the who gets fired first bowl.
Yes. Oh my God. Imagine firing Brent Venables. We have to write a buyout contract about him. That's $80 million.
I mean, this is that we spend a lot of time talking about like NIL and players and all that kind of stuff, but like we should have many, many conversations about the state of the coaching buyouts in college football and how absurd the money is on some of these guys. I mean, USC went through it with Clay Helton. Like you should not be extending Clay Helton for that much with that kind of buyout for what he had accomplished at that point. You should not be extending Brent Venables with that kind of money for what he had accomplished thus far. Like people, Mel Tucker, the same. Like just all of these, just mess.
It goes to my thing. It's like when anybody switches conferences, for everyone it works out, there's another one that doesn't. You
Yeah.
never really know. In time, it proves to be true. TCU's come out of it a lot better going to the Big 12 than West Virginia, because they wanted to play up. Utah did a lot better going to the Pac-12 than Colorado.
Colorado. Mhm.
Rutgers, Maryland, who cares? Doesn't matter. But it seems as though USC and Oregon are in a far better spot than Washington and UCLA are in the Big Ten. Texas didn't know they were going to fit in culturally because it's a wine and cheese crowd, whereas I feel like Oklahoma can kind of be the rabid A&M kind of thing. But you're going from a top three program historically, the best program in the Big 8 and Big 12. You've essentially bastardized yourself to now you're being Auburn and LSU and Florida. You're all things equal. You're not going to beat Georgia or Alabama or even Texas now with the resources they have. So maybe once every 8 years you can contend for a national championship as opposed to every 3, which you had previously under your old conference. But this is so bad for Oklahoma. I can't believe they did this.
It's yeah. I don't it's like we can only say it so many times. It's bad, it's big bad, and I don't know that there's coming back from it. To the point where I almost like it you almost would have been better off just saying, screw it, we're going to just accept the loss to LSU and have Jackson Arnold can finish the game and just say, it's just one of those games and we move on and maybe delay our discussion about how bad it is for Oklahoma. But I think it was also inevitable. This SEC schedule they were never set up to win it. Hiring Seth Luttrell as the offensive coordinator, I don't know. I've got trauma from Graham Harrell being the North Texas offensive coordinator and coming to USC and then proving to be quite limited in what he was able to do at that level. I don't know if this is the exact same thing, but
Yeah,
it feels a little bit.
I totally forgot Seth Luttrell's the OC there. When Bon Jovi said who says you can't go home, apparently us. You can't go back to alma mater.
Can't go back to just don't do it.
just don't do it. And you know what? We're gonna do it. We're gonna do some Just Like Novocaine to finish the program up here. We're gonna do some System of a Down. We've been preparing for this our entire lives, or basically the last like 72 hours. So we're gonna do aerials in the sky while predicting some college football games with System of a Down references. We're each gonna pick like we got 6 songs lined up here, and we're gonna say what game is this, and we're gonna pick just a winner for the fine, wonderful listeners back on this. The starters. That's what we're gonna call you. We're gonna call you guys the starters, or the better than the falsies. I think that's a better name.
Yes, yes.
Do you and Michael have a name for your random Troy listeners that you refer to them
We call
as?
we call them the Rotbots. So
Okay.
that we went through a whole period of trying to figure out what it was, and somebody suggested Rotbot, and it's stuck. So you sort of have to just go with what feels right. And if the falsies feel right,
Starters.
then go with it. Starters, falsies,
Yeah, it's better than we'll come up with. I think it's starters right now, but it may be something
starters.
else.
Yeah.
Starters, whatever. Well, we're gonna start with the simplest of carbohydrates on Earth. We're gonna go with some sugar. I don't know what's the crazy mushroom people who sit around all day, but what game is sugar for you this week?
Uh, it, I went looking through the college football slate for one particular team, and I was very sad to find that they are on a bye this week
Oh no.
because the real kombucha mushroom people are the Cal Bears, and they are not playing this week, and it makes me very sad. So then I just jumped over to their neighbors, Stanford. I'm going Clemson, Stanford. Uh, and this is where this is it was about this point as I was trying to decide what game to apply to this that didn't immediately jump to Cal that I realized that the problem with doing System of a Down for a Just Like Novocaine, trying to apply game and meaning to things is that System of a Down songs, their meanings are often not the most clear or consistent or like put together. So, like, I have found myself. I was like, I've listened to these songs for decades now, and I don't know what the song means or what I'm supposed to take from it. So, yeah, I'm going Clemson, Stanford because they're adjacent to the kombucha mushroom people.
That's perfect. I think that Dabo might be on drugs too. So I went with Oklahoma State and Kansas State. Who do you have winning that game, Clemson or Stanford?
Clemson, I really want to pick Stanford. That's the best, but also Clemson is not nearly as bad as we talk about them. Like they're still a solid football team, and I love Stanford, but I think they're outmatched.
You do have Clemson in the playoff. That was the saddest. Like, I guess I'm picking Clemson.
I hate that. I hate myself for that, by the way.
Who likes Clemson besides people that like Clemson? I mean, that's the
Yeah,
that
pretty
that
much.
yeah for the listeners at home. Yeah, that's the rival of Georgia. That was the school I almost went to. I picked Georgia over them, and Cody is a UNC fan. He hates Clemson. So yeah, I'm right there with you. Yes, Oklahoma State, Kansas State. I went with that game because that game's going to be on drugs, and with that, I'm going to go with Mike Gundy because I just think he's more fun to party with. In general, who knows what's going to happen there? Uh, I trust him to drive a boat more than Chris Kleiman at this point. With Avery Johnson, he's going to be worried about his hair, and Al Bowman's going to be worried about staying in school, not getting a job. So yeah, we're going to go with that for sugar. Okay, spiders, sugar, spiders. Ricky Benjamin might rip this song off with "So Cold." It's the same riff.
I I went to like listen to a lot of these songs to like re to remind myself some of the lyrics and stuff like that. And I realized like as I was listening to Spiders that like this song sounds like five other songs. Like there are so many songs that just like I was like, wait, this no, wait, no, it's which one is it? It's oh yeah, it's that one. I don't know what it was that like my brain was just jumping to a million different other songs with the same sort of hook. So I don't know, it's just one of those like universal songs or whatever. Um, to be honest, I had written down a game for every single song, but left Spiders blank, and I was gonna go with Vibes because I was being indecisive. And now that I'm sitting here,
Do you want to
I
come back
can't.
to?
I can, maybe I'll go with Virginia Tech, Miami, um, because it's not at Virginia Tech, I don't think. Yeah, but they play Enter Sandman. Talking about dreams, they
That's
could
funny.
dream of ruin of getting one over on Miami. But realistically, it will only be a dream. Virginia Tech's in a real bad place, and they should enjoy the rest of the week while they can, because Sunday's not going to be fun.
Yeah, dreams are winding through their head. Yeah, the Canes are going to win that game. I think they're probably like dreaming, like, oh, are we still back in the Big East? Nah.
Yeah.
Kind of the same sort of thing with dreams winding through my head. I went with the Southwest, the South. Well, I just Lou Holtz there for a second.
That was beautiful.
With the team he used to coach in the Arkansas Razorbacks. Yeah, I've got the Southwest Classic with Arkansas and Texas A&M. Dreams are winding through their head. They're just dreaming about being a playoff team because neither of them are. And I'm going to take the Hogs over the Aggies because this is a Bobby Petrino spike game.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah, I like that.
I can't believe I'm actually rooting for Bobby Petrino. This is the first time in my life I ever have. I didn't think I'd ever do this. There's a special layer of hell for that man.
Yeah.
um,
Yes, but when it comes to football, we sometimes we have to put those aside.
I mean, he's toxic. And speaking of toxic, let's go into some toxicity. Uh, the song that replaced the Hollywood sign there, outside of Los Angeles, the signature album by System of a Down, the title track. Who do you have for toxicity?
We just spent a little bit of time talking about this game. I got Oklahoma, Auburn.
Oh
There's
no.
toxicity in both of these programs. It's there was only going to be one choice for me on this. There's no other way to describe the underlying storyline of this game. It's going to get real toxic for one of these fan bases and one of these teams by Saturday evening.
For content purposes in our jobs, I'm not rooting, but like it has Auburn needs to lose because we're doing a hell of a ton of traffic on you freeze.
Yeah. Yes, Hugh Freeze content
uh,
more.
on that case, so we need to pitch something about Brent Venables to counterbalance and hedge and split.
Hey, hey.
That's a great one. That's the one that should have been for mine. But we talked about this game earlier. I've got Louisville at Notre Dame because what do you own? The world? Disorder, disorder. I mean, these are just two chaotic programs. Louisville can't get somebody to sponsor the stadium because every person knows there's evil. It could be Petrino, it could be Petito, it could be Papa John's, it could be the Frozen King himself. It's honestly, just name it Lamar Jackson or Johnny Unitas Stadium. Just call it Johnny Unitas Stadium and just move on with it. Michael Bush Stadium. There we go.
Michael, that's the one. Michael Bush.
The hot bread. Maybe after like Secretariat. Just a horse.
Secretariat Stadium.
And then Notre Dame. I don't trust them at all. But so that reason, I'm going with Louisville to win that toxic game on NBC. Can't wait to see Jack Collinsworth call another game for his alma mater to lose. And Jason Carrot will be there. That's
So
bad.
good.
So probably the biggest song by System of a Down. Let's go with some Chop Suey. Who do you have for that, Alicia?
I again, it was another one that I was like, there's so many different ways I could go with this song because this song is all over the place and I love it. But as I was listening to Father, into your hands I commend my spirit, my brain immediately jumped to Florida State. Because Florida State is playing SMU this week, and I fear for Florida State. I really do. Florida State's soul is in danger right now, and they can only commend their spirit to the good Lord to save them from more sadness because they barely beat Cal. And as much as I love Justin Wilcox and think that he's doing an admirable job with Cal, that's not a great Cal team. And if you can barely beat them at home, then SMU is I worry for Florida State. I think this could get real ugly real
I mean,
fast.
the loser of this game. I mean, is DJU going to be singing to Big Dave, Father, why have you forsaken me?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, pretty much.
Rhett Lashley singing the Gus Van song, why have you forsaken me?
Why have you forsaken me?
Speaking about programs that died, SMU literally had the death penalty. That's great.
Yes, there you go.
Speaking about death, I'm going to go with Illinois at Penn State because one of these perfect seasons is going to die. And
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Penn State in the driving academy. Got to go 10-2 here. And in terms of Father, why have you forsaken me? That's probably the crazy names of Brett Bielema's children, Brixley.
He has a child named Brixley, for serious.
His two daughters. The first one's name is Briella. I'm like, okay, it's a play on Brett, and the second one's like Brexley or Brixley, and it's
Oh
just
my
like
God.
I'm like, couldn't just go with like something just trendy. Like, what's wrong with naming your child like Sarah or Rachel or Jessica or Brittany, like, or everybody else that I know? I don't know. Uh,
Uh,
as Cody said, Gen Z is cursed.
Gen Z really is. Really. There's no other way about
Oh my gosh, yes, that's who I've got for chop suey there. Put up. That song is out. That song is outrageous.
I
That's a
love
great
that song
karaoke.
so
That's a
much.
great karaoke song. I do that
It
all the time.
is. It is such a good karaoke song.
You just scream really loud, and everybody thinks you're awesome. It's great.
Yeah.
Let's move on to BYOB, which stands for not bring your own beverages. We'll just leave it at that.
Yes. This game, I thought to myself, the defining line of this song for me is, "Why don't princes fight the war? Why do they always send the poor?" And I decided to go with Ole Miss, Kentucky, because poor Kentucky has been sent into battle against these big name SEC teams to try and shake them up once in a while. And poor Kentucky is probably going to lose again this week. But can't wait for these SEC teams to start playing somebody their own size. And poor Kentucky is not it.
Oh, Wake Forest is going to be okay. I mean, you, you got to schedule somebody in the power four in the non-conference. Wake was just terrible. You can't really control that. But everybody's going to party, have a real good time. That would be the Grove there in Oxford.
Yes.
And that's Lane. Lane puts that in his
Lane.
yearbook quote.
Yes, that was absolutely Lane's yearbook quote.
Oh my gosh. I'm also staying the SEC for this one. I'm going to go Georgia, Alabama, because this is going to be a fireworks show. It's going to be a spectacle there in the Death Star at Bryant Denny Stadium at Nick Saban Field, wherever the hell it's called. And I'm obviously going to pick Georgia because if I pick Alabama and I can't pick Alabama and Alabama wins. I got to do this for mental health purposes, for lack of a better word. So yeah, that's fireworks. And I will say that whoever wins that game between Carson Beck and Jalen Milroe, they're going to skyrocket towards the top of the Heisman race.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
Yes, and we're going to move on to our last one. We're not going to go with some from BYOB, not just some notorious B IG, with some Hypnotize. Yes, this song. Who's just sitting in their car waiting for their girl because they got to go home? What game? What's this game?
I again another song where I'm looking through the lyrics and going like, number one, this song is all over the place, and number two, I love this song, and number three, how the hell do I apply it to a football game? Um, I fixated on mesmerize the simple-minded, propaganda leaves us blinded. And when I think of Alabama, I will never not think of rat poison. I will never not think of good old Nick Saban fighting the good fight against perception and people telling Alabama that they're good and him hating that. And then also on the flip side, Georgia, Kirby Smart learned from the Nick Saban school of football coaching and is committed to convincing his team that everyone thinks they're going 7-6 every year, even though everyone predicts them to win the national title and go undefeated. So there's a lot of propaganda going on in the background for these programs, and I don't know which one will have done a better job.
Isn't
I'm
gaslighting
mesmerized.
great? I love it.
I'm simple-minded and I'm mesmerized, and I will be mesmerized watching this game and
Yes.
hypnotized.
I'm changing mine on the fly because I read this wrong. So initially I had Minnesota at Michigan because I feel like that's going to be some big noon kickoff propaganda, trying to convince himself that like Minnesota is going to be good. But big noon's not going there. They're going to go to Orlando with Colorado at UCF, which I think makes it even better.
Oh,
So it's still some big noon kickoff propaganda there. Again, they're going to prop up Colorado there. And because I'm picking this one on the fly, you know what? Screw it. Let's Colorado's going to win this game. Why not? I don't care.
I had that thought. I was looking at that game, and I think UCF is a pretty sizable favorite. And I thought to myself, like, it would be the most college football thing for Colorado just come in and say, like, no, actually, like, we're bad, but we're also really good in our own little ways because Travis Hunter is really damn good and Shedeur Sanders is really damn good. And they might be, I always say, like, football is a team sport. It's not a, you can't win games because of, one or two players, but Colorado might be convincing me that a two-player team might actually manage to win more games than we expect.
I can imagine UCF being down like 17 to like 3 at halftime, and Gus Malzahn's at like doing the halftime speech like, "Come on, boys, let's go, boys, let's break it down, boys, let's go, boys, let's hurry up and run." And then Deion Sanders is like, "We're gonna beat this sorry visor wearing bum senselessly in Orlando. Then we're gonna go to Disney World."
They're gonna.
What do you think are the chances that like the Sanders brothers have never been to a Disney property before in their life?
Oh, the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, is it possible? Is it possible they've never been to Disneyland or Disney World? It might be. I'm my brain is really wanting to convince myself that maybe this is like an out of the world experience for their like I cannot imagine their childhood. I can't imagine like what life they have lived, to be quite honest.
So I'm pretty sure they grew up in Dallas, essentially. I think that's where they're from. I mean, Shador played at like or committed to FAU initially to play for Willie
Yeah.
Taggart. Charlotte played for Muschamp, I think, in South Carolina. Maybe they're a little more well traveled. Maybe they went back to Fort Myers, where Deion's originally from. Maybe they went over there at some point. Probably not been to Disneyland. Maybe they go to Disney World.
Disney World.
I'll finish the show up here with a ridiculous thing. So I remember listening to the Low Post way back in the day with
Yes.
and I think they had Brooke Robin Lopez on there, and uh, Robin Lopez used to troll Brooke and call him. No, Brooke used to call it troll Robin because Robin had a list and used to call him Wook.
Oh my God.
So
That's
they went
so
to
brother coded.
so Robin's obviously the alpha brother of the two.
Yes.
So they went to Stanford. They were in the same recruiting class as Landry Fields. So they're all playing at Stanford, and they love Disney World. And I can imagine them going on like Space Mountain 7 feet tall, wearing like the goofy hats, just saying the same thing with their knees up to their shoulders. Uh, so with Deion Sanders, I bet Shador's probably a really big. I think he likes Goofy. I think that's his guy.
I could see that.
And Shiloh, Mickey seems pretty easy. Um, Donald, not Donald, is maybe Donald Duck said something to Dion at some point. Maybe that's why they didn't go. They've wanted to go their whole life. They've never been allowed
They've
to.
never been.
Oh my god.
Dion probably has some strong feelings about Disney and amusement parks. I can't imagine what they are, but I know he has them.
He's like, why would you want to go to those death contraptions? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It just go upside
And he's not
down.
wrong, to be fair.
That's okay. Yeah, I love roller coasters, but I'm at 35. I feel like my equilibrium shot, so I'll probably just feel it for like a week afterwards.
Yeah, I learned that a couple of years ago when I went to Six Flags for the first time in a long time, and um, I'm no longer cut out for the roller coaster life. It's what I learned.
Yeah, I want to ride the revamped version of the Georgia Cyclone, now the Twisted Cyclone, where they have like, Rocky Mountain coasters, the tracks that do this and stuff.
I love our Six Flags has a twist, the Twisted Colossus, which is the old wooden coaster that they did. That's my favorite ride, but also that ride is like the least intense of any of the rides at our Six Flags Magic Mountain.
Yeah, Magic Mountain at Six Flags over Georgia. Still never done a Goliath. Trying to get convinced the Arizona State podcast, like, you could do the Mindbender. The Mindbender's fine, even though that thing's ancient. I think it's 50 years old.
No. My
I told that
recommendation is don't do Goliath because Goliath is a traumatic experience for me.
it's okay. We'll do whatever it is. I'll try to do the Great American Scream Machine before they tear it down and build something
There you
stupid.
go.
I'm sure that's going to happen at some
Yeah.
point. But this was episode 112 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Alicia de Artola Castillo at Penguin of Troy, not the Penguin of Troy, Penguin of Troy.
This is true. Yes.
Making sure I get that correct. You can follow my absent-minded, absent co-host and our fansided.com colleague, Cody Williams, at the Sizzle20. It's still wild that that's his handle.
I love it.
Yeah, I think it's a he needed a nickname because like Cody Williams is a very, very bland name. So they called him Sizzle.
I feel like Cody is all nicknames because it's like Yams and Sizzle and
Yeah. Because he's always got to put Remus in the cage whenever we do this. I call him, he's like, got to cage this beast. Eventually became the Cajun beast because he knows
Cajun
a little bit about French, a lot about animals. And I'm Bueller. I have like thousands of nicknames. It doesn't even matter. I don't even respond to John half the time. It's just sad world we live in. I'm glad. You go ahead.
I still find it really funny whenever somebody refers to you as John, because I've literally only ever heard people or done myself, like, you have literally always been Bueller the entire time we've known each other.
I know it's not John 118, it's Bueller 118.
It's Bueller 118.
Yes, be sure to follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Please, I need a 5-star review on Apple. If you want to follow, if you like the Atlanta Falcons, I do that show too with the Blog Get Dirty podcast. You just follow me on YouTube there. You can read the stuff at Blog Get Dirty if you want. If not, I'm not writing there. I just write on fanside.com. But I like the Falcons. That's about to go 1-3. And then the Braves play a doubleheader on Monday, so we're going to lose to the Mets. The saddest weekend of my life.
That is, I'm so excited to see everything that comes out of that doubleheader. As a neutral, I get to enjoy the chaos that is a late September rain delay in the middle of the tightest wild card race.
It's Alabama, it's the Saints, and it's the Mets. It's like, if you swapped Alabama out with Florida and we lost, that would be like my personal hell.
Well, the sports gods like to punish us in mountainfuls. So I worry for you this weekend.
Appreciate that. I worry for me too. Yes. Anything you want to plug beyond the Random Troy podcast? Anything you and Michael have talked about of late that the listeners need to know about?
We're spreading. Make sure to tell your friends about Big 12 Bad. Make sure to tell your friends about Jiggle Bag. Jiggle Bag for Life is our new statement. But yeah, no, mostly, find us on Twitter. We're always on Twitter, at Random Troy, at Penguin of Troy. And yeah, just chilling on fansided.com, doing fansided.com type things. Always good to be on False Start though. And go out there and leave a review. It's not that hard. It's not that hard to the listeners. It's really helpful to shows. Leave a review. Hit the like button. Hit that follow. Whatever. A million things.
Please like the show.
Please, for the love of God.
Dreams are winding through my head, and this is False Start.